In the medieval era, women were readily available and were treated as spoils of war. Women of the enemies were captured and sold in the slave market, where women as young as 14 years were sold into rich men's harems. Women had no right to protest or even to be heard. Besides the legal and contracted ones, many slave girls were kept as concubines for pleasure and entertainment. The first organized harem with rules, regulations, and procedures was created by the Mughal Emperor Akbar and was then religiously maintained by his descendants Jahangir, Shah Jahan, to Aurangzeb. The harem of a Mughal emperor was one of the most complex institutions in the world and a melting pot of diverse cultures, intrigue, and sensitivity, with the emperor personally taking an interest in the affairs of the harem. Mughal Emperor Akbar made the harem into a fully functioning government department with security officials, finance officials, and even a human resource and recreation department to entertain the ladies. Every activity revolved around the emperor's happiness and well-being while maintaining the parda rules or concealment. And once a girl entered the harem, she cut all ties with the outside world and could not leave it until she died. Even if the emperor died, she could not leave the harem or remarry but would be kept secluded in an independent portion of the harem called Suhapura, where she would spend the rest of her life in isolation. Francisco Pelsert, a Dutch merchant who visited India during the rule of the Mughal Emperor Jahangir, makes some interesting observations about the women's lives in the harem. According to him, Jahangir was the most lustful of all the Mughal kings, and even at the young age of 25 years, he had as many as 20 wives and nearly 300 slave girls in his ever-expanding harem. Jahangir placed a lot of emphasis on richly decorated mahals, infusing lascivious sensuality in the women by making them wear extravagant dresses, perfumes, and ornaments, and then wooing him. He loved the attention he got when women competed for his attention. Every wife had a separate apartment of her own which was managed by 10 to 20 slave girls at her disposal. There was a generous monthly allowance given for buying jewels and clothes, and women vied for his attention by making special foods and sweetmeats as per his taste in their apartments. The objective was to seduce him by creating the right environment. Every night, whenever he visited a particular wife, the mahal or her palace would be richly decorated and infused with various perfumes, and the slave girls would be sent to fetch the choicest fruits and sorbets for the emperor. As the weather in India is primarily hot, he would be quickly undressed and made comfortable as the wife, along with the slave girls, would rub sandalwood and rosewood creams all over his body. Cloth fans made of silk or pankas would be run continuously overhead, sprinkling a gentle rain of rose water all over his body. Beautiful slave girls would massage him while feeding him with the choicest fruits. The wife would converse sweetly with the emperor on the day-to-day happenings and praise his bravery on specific issues, feeding his ego. A great deal of wine would be consumed and served in the process of arousing the emperor, along with other intoxicants like opium, amber, and other stimulants. If any slave girl caught his fancy, the wife could not object but might have to facilitate the same. The night of pleasure went on until the wee hours of the morning. The morning would be the moment of truth. If the emperor was happy, he would return, and the status of the wife or slave girl would be elevated to be the emperor's favorite. If the emperor was displeased, she would be consigned to oblivion. Most harem women wore the best clothes, ate the best foods, and even lived in the best mahals, but were deprived of basic human needs of love and affection throughout their lives if they did not catch the emperor's fancy. Some even entered into illicit affairs with officers of the harem at the cost of losing their lives if caught. That said, the harem was a place for pleasure, and topics like disease and death were not discussed. There was a separate facility called Bimarkhana where the sick and the ailing were treated and kept away from the other pomp and show happenings of the harem. Yes, all care was given, but the ailing women generally led a lonely, isolated life with nobody visiting except the slave girls. If the woman used to be the emperor's favorite, he might visit once, that was all. There was no place for sentiments like sorrow, illness, and death in the colorful world of the harem. It was a woman-eat-woman world. If one was young and fit, she could make the best use of it and survive. It was the bitter truth of a polygamous Mughal world that there was no shortage of fresh, youthful faces to replace the older ones. Please like, comment, and subscribe our channel for more interesting videos.